Every summer when I was growing up, my family would take me up north where we would stay at our camp on a lake and enjoy a good part of the summer. I picked strawberries, went swimming, built forts, made dams in the local brook, and even went to swimming lessons. Today, all it takes is certain smells or events that will take me right back to these summers in Maine, where I reminisce about these experiences. I grew up in Maine. My family and I enjoyed the seacoast with surfing, fishing, boating, and even digging clams. And I've taken advantage of the lakes with water skiing, ice fishing, and lots of swimming. We've hiked dozens of mountains, snow skied for many years, snowmobiled for countless weekends. I've raised 2 girls here with my wife, spent hundreds of hours volunteering in the local community. And so I'd like to think that my experiences of living in Maine has been pretty thorough. I also worked in information technology for many years, which allowed me to visit most of the United States and dozens of countries overseas. In my travels, I always took an extra day or two to check out local attractions and especially the parks in the different states I visited. This, more than anything else, allowed me to compare Maine to other states. As the prior CEO of a large business in Maine, I communicated with employees at companies in over 80 countries, and the weather and activities were always my 2 favorite questions to ask about. But now I'm in my 50s, retired. I'm living in Maine for part of the year because I have come to an understanding about a few things that I want to share with you that will help you cut to the chase on whether or not a Maine lifestyle is right for you, because vacationing in Maine and living in Maine, as you would expect, are 2 different experiences. If you're new to this channel, my name is Michael Patterson, and I work with my daughter Margaret, who is also a local real estate agent. This channel is all about living in southern Maine, the different towns we explore, as well as the activities we engage in. Click subscribe if these are the types of things you want to learn about. Now, if you have a utopian view of what it's like to live in Maine, I will either enhance that vision, or I'm going to provide you with information that will help you adjust your expectations. So before you load up the truck and move to Maine, just take 5 minutes, watch this video, and learn why I, like so many others, leave Maine for part of the year. One of the first things you want to know about living in Maine is that tourist season, which pretty much ends on Labor Day. Maine and most coastal and lake communities can feel like a ghost town. This is because in touristy areas, which can be fun to live in, many of the businesses, especially restaurants, will shut down for a good part of the year. This brings us a bit of sadness and also means winter is about to roll in. The winters I experienced in the 1970s in Maine are a bit different than what we experience today. Winters are still long and summers are still short, but it isn't as cold as we get less snow. For many Mainers, this is a good thing. But not everyone appreciates this. Either way, it is best if you can learn to embrace the winter. If you're not a get outside and do something kind of person, then get online and find out what's going on in your local communities so that you can get involved. Don't let yourself become a hermit, or you'll likely find yourself regretting your decision to come to Maine, and we don't want that. A good part of the year, the trees have no leaves, and it's cold enough to warrant a sweater or a jacket. I recommend local physical activities, which there are plenty of, or even more sedentary activities like book clubs or becoming a volunteer at the local church or town organization. All you have to do is ask, and someone somewhere needs help with something, and that's your golden opportunity to build out a network of new friends. Mainers can be pretty friendly if you put yourself out there. Don't underestimate how hard a Maine winter can be to get through. I'm not just talking about cold weather. I'm including how it gets dark at 4:30 p.m. and how difficult it is to enjoy your yard unless you dress up and head outside with the purpose to either do some work or enjoy your local communities. And I say multiple communities because almost no one finds absolutely everything they want to do in their local town. For example, in southern Maine, if you want to dig clams, you obviously have to head to the seacoast. If, on the other hand, you want to play pickleball, you're probably going to head to Sanford or one of the cities which most of the towns in Maine serve as a bedroom community to. I love my winter activities in Maine, which is why I come back a few times every winter to enjoy them. Northern states like Maine, during the winter, and to some extent even in the summer, can make you feel isolated. But unlike southern New England states, living in Maine can force you to drive a considerable distance if you want to dance, take the kids to away games, enjoy music, or plays, sports events, or even shopping. Even convenience stores can require a considerable drive in Maine. Now, some people like this, but others do not. This is definitely something to talk with your real estate agent about. Getting back to the summer season, I personally stay in Maine for the duration of the warmer months. This is both to help my daughter in real estate, but also we own a campground, which also has a YouTube channel that you can check out, and I'll leave a link in the description down below. I share dozens of my favorite activities on that channel as well. Now, even though I love Maine tourists, once you become a local, you'll find yourself thinking about them a little differently. Now, before you discard me as an entitled, ungrateful jerk, hear me out. After you've lived in Maine for a few years, the novelty starts to wear off, and you find yourself being one of the natives that complains occasionally during the summer about the out-of-staters. The truth is, Maine needs the tourist industry, and we are grateful that so many people want to visit our state. If you live in a touristy area, for example, unlike the winter, automobile traffic in the summer, especially in seacoast towns, becomes congested. It can back up for miles and leave you with the same sense of frustration that you might feel in a city like San Francisco, New York, or Boston. Guys, I want to take a moment and let you know that if you are thinking about buying or selling real estate in York County, Maine, and you like to do your own research, you'll find a detailed relocation guide in the description down below. Inside, you'll find lots of insights about all of the different towns in York County, like population, schools, walkability, and shopping. It allows you to compare and contrast the real estate that you want to check out. Just know that you don't have to learn about communities on your own. We can help. Okay, a statistic that many of you will be surprised to learn about is that according to the Bangor News, Maine has the highest home vacancy rate in the country. Most of these vacant homes are along the seacoast or on Maine's lakes, rivers, and ponds. This has driven up the cost of homes in Maine for the local. Maine's historical practice as promoting itself as the vacation state has contributed to coastal and lakeside communities being dominated by seasonal residences. In fact, in coastal areas, second homes have been cited as a contributing factor in stark housing shortages here in Maine. I'll leave links to these findings in the description down below. Last March, our governor, Janet Mills, passed a law that any residential lot in Maine must now allow manufactured housing, which includes mobile homes. This means someone could put a mobile home right next to a several $million-dollar beach house. So this could be an opportunity for you to find affordable housing in a great location. When it comes to belonging to a sense of community where I live, I've never had a problem with this in Maine or seen it as a problem in any other state. I know that I can count on several of my neighbors if I need help with something, and they can certainly count on me. I have the same relationship with neighbors down in Florida. Let's talk about crime in Maine. Overall, Maine has very low crime. Like any state, you'll find more issues in the cities. Certainly we have crime, and I have experienced it personally in multiple towns, but overall, Maine is a safe state. I'll leave some links in the description down below, which will allow you to investigate the safest towns, and you can make your own assessment. A topic that is just as serious as crime is healthcare. In some areas of Maine, access to healthcare can be a problem, which is why it is a leading reason why some people leave the state. Maine has a relatively small population, which means our hospitals are largely located in our cities. If you are a senior citizen and want to have a house on the water, you may want to consider how far the property is from a major city. I have found our healthcare system to be very good, but then again, I live in the southernmost county of Maine, which is the most heavily populated, and consequently has great healthcare. You should also know that Maine wants you to move here. I'll provide links to this in the description down below. Today, our state no longer uses the marketing taglines of "the way life should be" or "open for business." Recently, Maine uses the tagline "welcome home" to promote moving here rather than just tourism. Some towns are even offering move here incentives. For example, Augusta, Maine is offering a $15,660 tax credit to move there, but there are stipulations. And I'll leave a link in the description down below for that as well. Maine's change in marketing has been great for our state's future. From time to time, people ask Margaret and I if Maine is affordable. The answer to this is yes and no. But I won't discard this question so easily because it is a valid topic. I'll leave links to the sources in the description below so that you can answer this yourself because it's based on personal finances. So why do I leave Maine for part of the winter? I'm getting to that, but I think you already have a good idea. But first, I want to highlight a few more positive things about Maine because I don't want you to perceive me as negative about the state that I love and still live in for most of the year. First, as a campground builder and owner, I love the great outdoors. I vacationed as a child on a heavily forested lake, and I love going for walks in the woods. There is something about it that makes me feel young, and I love sharing it with my wife and daughters. Second, I love our tides on the ocean. Maine has some of the greatest range of tides of any other state in our country. Up north, where our coastline meets up with Canada, the tides are over 20 feet. It is really unbelievable unless you go there yourself to see it. Here in southern Maine, we have 9 to 11 foot tides. I've posted videos on clamming and other activities that you can watch. Tides make exploring the seacoast a lot of fun, and Margaret and I have really taken advantage of it. Third, I enjoy visiting the cute coastal towns. They are fun to visit and carry a festive atmosphere. Whether it's Bar Harbor, Camden, or Gunkwit, or Kennebunkport, none of them are very big and won't take you more than half a day to walk around. I always have a good time when I visit them. This is not to say that every coastal town in Maine is walkable because they are not. A quick internet search will answer questions about the best towns in Maine to visit. Fourth is lifestyle. Maine is definitely a lifestyle change for people in the South or from the city. It is a great place to raise a family if you want to live rural or raise animals. Livestock like chickens, cows, and horses are popular in Maine. Fifth, when it comes to restaurant, just like any other state, we have our share of great eateries in nearly every town and not just along the seacoast, although that's pretty much where you'll find many of the best ones. All right, I purchased a house in Florida because I want to enjoy a few extra weeks of warm weather every year. I can still support Margaret with real estate from Florida, and I come back every few weeks during the winter anyway to hang out with my friends and enjoy some of my favorite winter activities. If you want to learn more about what it's like to live and work in Maine, watch this next video that Margaret created about living in Maine.